Ladies and gents, we are getting closer to the expansion of Arms Against Tyranny in the next Hoi 4 expansion. The devs have released a video on the official Hoi 4 channel giving a full feature breakdown. Number 1, so there will be more than that. And it gives a full breakdown of Norway. What else we got? Denmark. Oh, exciting. And then Special Forces. You know, I've said this a million times. I'm not a big focus tree kind of guy. All right, focus trees, they're kind of cool in a way, but I'm not a big fan of them overall. I prefer core game features. That's what excites me. So let's watch this.
Special Forces haven't received an update for quite a while. With this update, you receive a brand new whole world of customization that we haven't seen before for Special Forces. It will originally look very familiar to you, with a similar layout to Doctrine.
Guys, what are we looking at right now? So, load up Hoi. You can see normally with the Officer Corps, you got the option here with the doctrines, land, naval, and air. But now we have an extra tab in the top right, and that is Special Forces. So let's look really close to this and see if we can analyze it and see if we can spot anything kind of interesting. I love this one here, Mountaineers Super Ski Dudes label. So that kind of gives me the impression this one is like a movement speed bonus for Mountaineers. So what they've kind of done here is they've overlapped the mechanics of a Mountaineer and overlapped it with like ski troops as well. So that makes me think that Mountaineers aren't going to just be primarily used for mountains. They might be used for like forests and maybe like difficult terrain like snow as well. So what would this mean? Will this like mean movement speed boost? Would this mean attack and defense bonus? For instance, in snow, bad weather, or forest, for instance? It feels like it's including a little bit of the Finland mechanics with the Winter War. And a lot of these are mutually exclusive too. So you've got like the ski troops here. So that feels like a winter bonus. With this one here, feels like maybe just based, might be an extra boost to soft attack, for instance. Also mentions reconnaissance. It kind of makes sense in a way that Special Forces get a bonus to tactics, you know. Once again, tactics, old mechanics, people don't really use them anymore. Apparently, based upon some of the dev dives we've been seeing recently, I think tactics might get re-looked at to see how they could be changed in future. This is an interesting one here. Can you see this one? Like a Mountaineer artillery. So India does have a Mountaineer-based bonus for artillery, mountain artillery, which gives a very small attack bonus for artillery in mountains. However, it's not really a big bonus, so it just deducts some of the penalty you get for attacking mountains. Hey, but you can't disagree. It's a good bonus, though. What we got here, we got armor, like snipers, maybe? And then looks like this is a movement speed. And this one here kind of looks like women mountaineers. Am I right thinking that? So the idea of enhancing the pool of Special Forces. The question is, though, are they going to go into the normal research tree here and get rid of this bottom bit here? Or are they going to work in parallel with each other? Because I'll be totally honest with you, this part here has needed some love for a really long time. And some of these bonuses are just flat out bad. And the fact that you can't research them until super late game is also really frustrating as well. All right, let's look at the Navy one then. So you see like a jungle icon here. So are they, once again, are they trying to overlap terrain bonuses with Special Forces as well? It's interesting here that it branches off at the bottom for mutually exclusive. So these ones are mutual depending which path you go. So this guy shows he's in water here. Then he's been attacked while he's in water, and then in water once again. So this feels like the naval path. So like a Pacific USA kind of troop. Where this one on the left is like sabotage, blowing up bridges. So it's kind of like, this is more like Royal Marines fighting on land, but combat orientated around bridges and river maneuvers and wetland maneuvers. But this one is more based around amphibious invasion, so like more Pacific warfare. Oh, that kind of makes sense. That's actually kind of cool. That means you're tailoring your Special Forces to where they're going to be fighting. Airborne assault is the future of warfare. So we are paradropping. I can't figure out what that is there. What is that? Then we've got paradropping of tanks. Am I reading that correctly? So that you could paradrop light tanks, potentially. And this looks like kind of assistance from the ground, so maybe bonuses to your air force on the ground. And this one looks like reinforcements on the ground as well, with movement speed as well.
However, within the trees, you'll see that there's a big difference. With these trees that allow you to customize your Special Forces, we have some things that you've never seen before. They unlock new battalions and support companies and provide some effects.
Whoa, so he's saying it unlocks battalions. So that means there's not just going to be one flavor of Special Forces now. So that means you can basically select. This is actually what I said earlier, actually. The idea that you can unlock a special forces now that isn't just a marine, but it's like a marine jungle troop, or potentially a marine amphibious troop, or Royal Marines, which is a land-based special forces. So it looks to me that they're expanding the definition of special forces quite large. So instead of just paratroopers, marines, and mountaineers, I think we're seeing a greater variety now of what special forces could actually be. Oh man, this is what the community has wanted for a long time anyway. Every mod has tried to implement this with like a forest-based special forces and desert-based special forces. So this is kind of cool they're implementing it.
That were previously
Oh, look at Bradley. Isn't he a good-looking guy?
impossible within These
Fantastic
unlock some very
British
special
chap.
types of gameplay that will allow you to pull some tricks on your friends and also possibly pull off a special operation. Each branch has its own doctrine tree. As you progress down the tree, you'll have mutually exclusive choices to choose from, as well as some standard ones. These will generally always increase the number you can have within your nation, but also provide stats bonuses and much more. With the new
So it looks like the standard, the way he's describing it here is every bonus you get allows you to expand the pool of special forces so you can access to more of them. Once again, I have a big gripe with the existing special forces mechanics. I don't like the way they work. I don't like that there's an artificial railroaded barrier to you having more special forces. And that frustrates me. I feel like it should be a more interesting mechanic where it affects like the effectiveness of special forces. If you go too wide with special forces, you suffer from penalties to their attack abilities, for instance, or they're not as special anymore because they don't get the bonuses in different terrain types, for instance. I don't like that there's just an arbitrary railroaded amount that when you got to that amount, you can't really continue. I don't really like that. I wish they'd change that.
bonuses and much more. With the new customizable trees, each branch is paid for with a separate type of XP. Mountaineers are paid with army XP, paratroopers with air,
Oh,
and Marines with
dude. This is so good. This is so good. But just think about it for a second. Just think about it for a second. So France, UK, USA, access to a lot of oil early game, access to a big navy. You exercise your fleet from the start of the game. You're going to max out your special forces Marines pretty much immediately. They need to tweak how much XP you gain from exercising fleets. Because at the moment, I feel like these numbers are a bit out of whack. Like getting air XP is really difficult when at peacetime. Really difficult. Navy is just pissy. You're just literally drowning in it. Army, it's a bit hit and miss. You just gain just enough to make your divisions, don't you? These need to be re-looked at.
With these new customization trees for special forces, your special forces can be vastly different from in other countries. This means it's even more important than ever that your special forces match up to the country's strategy that you're playing.
Okay, equipment preset. So
Since the inception of the
I feel like for the most part, this is self-explanatory, really. So now you'll have historical tanks that you can pre-build that have the same presets. I think this is for the people getting confused by the tank designer. Like, I don't understand how the tank designer works. So now they've added actual historical tanks that are pre-made presets that you can automatically build. So you want a King Tiger, you click presets, you click King Tiger, you hit save, boom, you've got your King Tiger. You don't have to mess around. At the end of the day, people like to play and role play as historical tanks and historical divisions. So in all fairness, I can see why people added this. And a lot of the time, people are confused by the tank designer. So this is for those people, isn't it?
Now you can choose what you want.
But it looks as
They
well.
come with friendly names and pictures, so you can quickly identify your favorite tank. So if you're looking for a Sherman or a Tiger.
Oh, this is not what I thought it would be. I thought this is a way of saving your existing presets to reload your existing presets. I'll be honest with you, I'll probably make a video playing with only historical tanks because people want to see that. That's what they want to see. However, I thought this was the idea of you make your own favorite tank and then you make it as a preset and you can just reload it over and over again. People will probably implement this as a mod though.
Then you can find it. All of these presets are defined in script, and so they're 100% moddable, and you can add as many as you want.
Okay, they've also made a very small change to how economies work.
Zero, get to the view zeros with it previously.
So in the past, you could get 0 consumer goods or even less than 0 consumer goods, which is, if you really think about it, it doesn't even make sense, does it? The idea that your nation would not consume any consumer goods whatsoever just kind of feels kind of silly. So what they've done now is that they've changed the way consumer goods eat into your economy. So you will always have to spend some consumer goods, even though it might be an incredibly small amount of it. It's like a multiplied factor instead of just an absolute number. In all fairness, it kind of frustrates me because below 0 didn't mean anything, which is kind of annoying. It's like a mechanic that doesn't do anything. But then to top it off as well, I think for the most part, this adds an element of realism at the end of the day, because your nation is always going to consume some consumer goods.
Dead in the queue, not from multiplicative.
Oh, look, numbers. Absolute numbers. Wow.
The result is...
For the most part, though, just a heads up, I don't think it's going to make much difference to the overall game. When you've got really low consumer goods, which you most likely will do in most games, at the end of the day, you're going to be consuming 1 or 2 civilian factories, which isn't massive. So is it really going to make a massive difference to your game overall? Not a lot. So if you get those consumer goods nice and low, then it won't make much of a difference anyway.
There are 2 main changes coming to...
Now, this is big. This one is super big.
...divisional structure that you need to be aware of. The first one is that the default...
So, just a step back. We've only got a patch running at the moment that changes combat width, okay? Now, what they're making us aware here, they're locking some of the battalion slots out, so there is going to be an artificial limit of the size of the division that we can make in the early game unless we unlock a doctrine.
Number of battalions allowed in a single brigade, that is the vertical line within a division template, it's been reduced to 4 out of 5.
What?
You can unlock your 5th one by investing into your doctrines. Each doctrine line has a different doctrine unlock, which will then unlock.
Let's just read this really closely. So here we go. So this is the mobile warfare path, and it says increases the brigade size by +1. It's very small.
That final.
So it looks to me, when you're unlocking it, it's usually quite far in the focus tree.
Position. The second change to division structure is that we've done another review of combat widths. In this general case, we've reduced most combat widths from what they were before, and also this has resulted in a much flatter curve when it comes to efficiency over combat widths.
Okay, I think it's interesting to know that people get scared because combat width is something that confuses a lot of people. Where before it was really clear what the most optimal combat width was, now it's kind of a gray area, because even if you get it completely wrong, it's still kind of all right, because once again, as they mentioned, they flattened the curve overall. So if you pick a really bad division width, like the least optimal, at the end of the day, the penalty you're going to experience is quite slim, in all fairness, so it's not going to make a massive difference overall.
When it comes to efficiency.
So for the newbies, at the end of the day, there really isn't a wrong combat width. There's too big, there's too small, but anything between 10 combat width and, let's say, 45 is going to work okay.
Over combat widths. This means that overall, your combat width matters less, and also larger divisions will not fit quite as well as before.
Thanks for watching. That's it for now.
So basically what they're saying here is the meta was to make those 42, 44, 45, 40 width divisions because they've got lots of stats packed within them, and they've slightly nerfed them because the curve has been reduced. So now the 30 widths are slightly more optimal than they were before. The 40s are slightly less optimal. Once again, it doesn't really affect how you're going to play the game. In most games, I start off with the 20 width that the game gives you, and as you progress and get more equipment, I expand that combat width to get to 30s and then sometimes get to 40s, depending if I've got the surplus of manpower and equipment available to me. But sometimes I don't. A lot of the time, I'm not making the most ideal combat width to begin with. I mean, to be fair, in a multiplayer game, that is going to be different. But from my single player experience, it doesn't make a massive difference. So, in summary, we're getting a brand new doctrine unlock at the very top right here. So, land, naval, air, and special forces. And it's going to give the possibility of unlocking different kinds of special forces. I think we're definitely going to see a winter special forces. Probably going to potentially see some kind of land-based marine instead of an amphibious invasion style marine. They're the two that I feel like are almost certain. And it does look to me, unconfirmed by the way, they're getting rid of this research for the special forces. So basically this segment here, this bit here, is getting moved to the Doctrines tab, basically. So it's no longer going to be research, and now it's going to become unlockable by using XP. Do you know what would be kind of cool? Is that when you unlock one of these, they don't unlock immediately. Maybe they take 30 days to be implemented or something. You know, it feels strange to me that when you've got like 500 XP, you go through them at 100 mile an hour. You know what I mean? Just by clicking through them. And it feels kind of silly to me, like your army instantly adopts these new doctrines like immediately. It feels like it would take at least 30 days for each of them to be implemented. And I guess it would feel more realistic, I suppose. Hey, you want more updates on the future content coming fast Surviving 4? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out this video. This one is going to be right for you. Click it.